Hi. On the seventh day thou shalt make video presentations. And this is it. United States of America. Senators demand the military lock up American citizens in the battlefield they define as being right outside your window. Heavy dude stuff. I don't really want to get involved in things like this, but I can't help thinking politicians, when there is crisis over there, get on with an awful lot of stuff that's completely over there. Anyway, you can read that for yourself. I'll read a couple of other things from inside this article. The Senate is going to vote on whether Congress will give this president and every future president the power to order the military to pick up and imprison without charge or trial civilians anywhere in the world. Even Ron Paul raised his concerns about the NDAA detention provisions during last night's Republican debate, which you will have seen on C-SPAN. The power is so broad that even US citizens could be swept up by the military, and the military could be used far from any battlefield, even within the United States itself. Right. Later we read, in support of this harmful bill, Senator Lindsey Graham explained that the bill will basically say in law for the first time that the homeland is part of the battlefield, and people can be imprisoned without charge or trial, American citizens or not. Another supporter, Kelly Ayotte, also declared that the bill is needed because America is part of the battlefield. Now, I've read this, and I don't know what war they're fighting that the battlefield is America. But I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they're doing it for the best. Right. Gillian Tett in the Financial Times goes outside her speciality and notes, because she's working out of the US at the moment, why doesn't America like science? And actually the title should be, why do half of Americans not like science, or something like that. Just 3 Republican candidates have declared that they believe in the scientific basis for evolution. That's 3 out of the 8, I think. Only 3 of the 8 have declared that they believe in the scientific basis for evolution, and there's a good reason for that. As soon as they go against the possibility of there being a biblical explanation, their ratings go down. So they're only being sensible by only 3 of them coming out in favour of the scientific explanation of how we got to be here. Right. Bit eclectic this, but let's throw this in because I found it quite a nice little chart. Except its colour. You can go to the St. Louis Fed and play all you like. There's lots of tools you can play with, and you can change the colour of the surrounds of the charts you make. But orange, really. Anyway, what are these things? You probably recognise the black one, and that is reserve balances with the Federal Reserve banks. You know, the banks that have these reserves at the Federal Reserve that's gone up into the trillions, 1.5 trillion now. And this was to do something, and Peter Schiff would be pulling his hair out and saying that this is going to lead to inflation. Well, the blue one is Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, which is the standard one, and the percentage change going back to 2000. And besides, there was a hiccup in 2005, and besides the great shoot downwards in the Great Recession, it hasn't really changed the ECB heartbeat at all those reserves being at the Federal Reserve, because they just stick there doing nothing. Okay. This is from the Financial Times, but the source is OECD, and it's expected years in retirement. If for nothing else, we can gauge that basically OECD average is about 20 years in it. We would be expected to stay in retirement, live in retirement, with Japan just below the average, and Spain and Italy just above the average. But there are two real outliers, which is Mexico, where you're only going to live for less than 10 years in retirement, and France, where you're going to live for over 25. So presumably you should retire to France so you can live that bit longer, or something like that. Right. Excuse me. This is from Eurostat, where I normally get my statistics for the European Union, economic things, but this is for the tubbies. How many tubbies are there in the EU? Between 8% and 25% of adults are obese across member states. And like the economic figures, there's a great disparity. Between 8 and 25 is a huge disparity, and it's very strangely plotted around the place. I'll go to a middle-ish paragraph there. For both men and women aged 18 years and over, the lowest shares of obesity in 2008-9 were observed in Romania, and we've got women and men 8% and 8%, about the same. Italy, surprisingly, low obesity, women 9, men 11, Bulgaria 11 and 11 or 12, France low at 12 or 13 and 12, but the highest proportions of obese women were recorded in the United Kingdom, 23.9, Malta, Latvia and Estonia. Men are tubsy in Malta, the United Kingdom, and well, let's go on to this next one because this chart's in there, and you can read, you can pause, and if you're interested, have a look for these. I've just pulled out, for interest's sake, because it was the first thing that I looked at. From past experience in my mind and ideas I had, I looked for Italian women, who are low. If you look on the women's scale, far left, up by where the countries' names are, total aged 18 plus, in other words, right across all age groups for all women. Italian women are in single figures, where down in the United Kingdom you can see it's up at the record breaking 24, and the Italian women 18 to 24 2% obese, 25 to 44 4.6, 45 to 64 11%, 11.7 are obese, and the older ones 65 are 16% obese. And generally across all these figures, men and women, as you get older you get more tubsy. But drop down, okay, we'll run across these Italian ones again, going through the age groups 2, 5, 12, 16 for the older people, and that's what happens when you get older, you get more tubsy. But the United Kingdom actually starts at the younger people higher than the Italian older people. The Italian older people 16.1, the UK young people 18 to 24 start at 16.6 and just get worse, 20.7, 27.7 and 31. That's it. Much more serious. This is the German percentage of GDP gross debt to GDP thing, and as you can see, it's been cranking up since 1991. Over the last 20 years it's steadily been rising, as generally all countries have, and has had a real swoop up since 2008, 9, 10, presumably paying out quite a lot to keep people employed and other reasons. But over 80% now into the danger zone, anything over 80%. And next week we'll get awful lot of talk about treaty changes and all sorts of ways that money can be found to make things better. But I don't think we'll be finding it from Germany. They've got their own problems. Finish with this television. Hard talk on the BBC, and Steve Keen was interviewed. Now this link, the sync isn't very good on it, but if you're in England you'll get the iPlayer will work perfectly, and you could probably maybe find better sound versions of this. But I think it was worth reading, watching. I was so excited watching it this morning. It was, strangely enough, it was Cullen Roche Prague Cap tweeted that it was on and said that Steve Keen was being a fear-mongering, but pretending to be one of the good guys, but fear-mongering. So I gave it a watch, and I think it's a wonderful performance by Steve Keen. I don't know who the girl is, but she gave the classic, you're highlighting a huge problem, so we expect you to come up with a solution to the problem, that classic one. And Steve Keen was pushed further than I'm sure he wanted to go, but he kept it beautifully, not going too far, and the whole interview went really reasonably. And I remember what I was like watching sports events, you know, kind of, come on, oh, you've got around that, okay, you can do it. And I was doing that for Steve Keen as well. Very excited I was, and the whole thing comes out very well. Being a Steve Keen fan, I thought it was a good performance. Give him 5 out of 6 for it. Very good television. Bye.